Artificial intelligence. What should we do with it? Should we be using it in our assessments for our writing? Will I get kicked out of, say, my program of study if I do use it? Are they encouraging us to use it? It's a bit of a wild, wild west when it comes to, well, this new technology. It's a bit like, say, the internet back in 1999, where basically everyone had a website and you could easily find it by just typing search into a search engine such as Yahoo, because Google wasn't really a thing just yet. But today what I want to do is kind of give you some guidance on, well, how can you use artificial intelligence when it comes to higher education? Because it's there and it actually can be quite useful. Whether that be if you use Copilot, designed by Microsoft, or the more popular ChatGPT, which I personally use, or the other one, Claude, which some people use, but I haven't met anyone who does just yet. In this short video, I'm going to first look at AI as a skill that you can use in higher education. After looking at that, we'll move into the ethical use of AI. Then we'll look into prompting. How do you prompt better responses from artificial intelligence? However, when we think about AI, we can also use it to pull apart concepts that we might be struggling to understand to help us learn. And in addition to that, we can use AI to get feedback on our writing. One of the things that I find helpful sometimes is using AI to help me with, say, structuring something. That is, structuring a piece of writing or a presentation even. And then finally, what we'll look at is fact-checking responses. The usage of AI is a valuable skill in higher education. It's something that we can't run away from. It's here to stay, and it's probably going to evolve even further. Yes, it might mean that it's something you're going to have to learn to do and continue to learn how to use as it develops, but it'll really make your work a lot easier if you do learn to use it. What AI can do is assist in your thinking. I like to think of artificial intelligence when I use it as, say, almost like a peer or a research assistant who I can bounce ideas off. Because when it's, say, 2 a.m. in the morning, you can't call up a friend to talk about whatever you're working on. But the thing about AI is it's not there to replace your critical thinking in terms of pulling together all the sources and communicating what they mean, or it's not there to reflect for you in terms of, say, what your core values are. But AI can be very helpful in clarifying concepts, summarizing information, and even generating minor ideas. Though I encourage you to always check academic guidelines. Here at AIPC, we certainly do encourage you to use AI, but rules vary from institution to institution. And I've read a news article where one student transferred from one university in the United States to another, didn't realize that the AI policy differed, and as a result got into a fair bit of trouble. Nonetheless, you can use AI responsibly here at AIPC. AI can be used to support your writing. It can help you to build your ideas, but ultimately it's your voice that we want to come through here, not AI. AI can also save time by organizing notes, helping you structure content and also proofread, taking some of the burden off you. Like I said, AI is your assistant. It's not your replacement. So obviously, well, I'd like to think it's obvious, don't copy and paste AI generated content. That's bad. That's not writing your assignment. You also want to verify all AI generated content because there's a few things about AI. In a lot of ways, it's a language prediction model, but it also doesn't like to admit it's wrong, and often it wants to please you. So often you might have to verify what it spits out. As you learn more, you don't have to do this as much. You can certainly use AI though, in an ethical sense, to brainstorm ideas, to help generate ideas. But again, I can't overstate that the critical thinking is yours. Make sure you don't cite AI generated text. Instead, look for the source that it might have been pulled from, or a source that verifies it. You could try asking AI, well, where did this information come from? Provide me with the reference, and then go look it up. And then if you can't find it, then you might be spotting AI trying to please you. Nonetheless, AI can help with structure and it can help with clarity. But it is definitely not there for cheating. A key part of using artificial intelligence is prompting. When you use artificial intelligence, you're essentially having a chat. And prompting is you sending through your chat to AI. You can see on the screen in front of you right now that we've got an okay prompt and a better prompt, but let's not focus entirely just on that yet. But instead, look at the gray box there in each. That's me prompting the AI. Keep in mind that the more specific your prompt, the more relevant your output will be. You can see that there's a difference there. If you look at the okay prompt, it's okay. I'm not highly specific though. And in turn, the answers are less specific than if you look at the better prompt and the answer to the better prompt on your right. You do want to avoid vague or overly broad prompts because what you're going to get in turn are more general answers that they're not going to have the specificity that you need. You can use context, you can use details, you can use follow-up questions, you can try adjust your wording to try get more out of AI. Don't forget, and this is the important part, it is like a conversation. It's not like you have one chance to try get what you want from AI. It's essentially a back and forth with almost another human. Someone might say an artificial human. You can also break complex questions down into smaller questions to get more precise results, or you can ask for examples or formatting preferences when necessary. So in terms of looking for examples, you might ask for an example of, say, cognitive behavioral therapy applied to a 23-year-old man who lives in an urban city in Queensland, Australia. Or you could even be more specific and say it's Brisbane. In terms of formatting preferences, you could ask for information to be put in tables. You could alter that table by saying, no, I want it to be a vertical table. You could ask for every single word in bold if you want. You can even ask it to generate an image based on the answer it's given you or what you're telling it. Prompting here is key, and it's really important to remember it's essentially a conversation. We can also use AI to help explain concepts. Often we do need to, say, address neurobiology, for example. And I don't know about you, perhaps you have, but I don't have a bachelor in neurobiology, but it certainly is relevant from time to time in counseling. So we can use AI to help explain things to us. You can see on the right of your screen there that I've asked AI to explain the relevance of the dopaminergic pathway to counseling, and it's given me an answer. Yeah, it's somewhat of a useful answer, but I can actually prompt it to simplify it further, which is something I often do. I often ask AI to explain things to me like I'm a 16-year-old. And then I ask it to explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old because 16-year-olds are pretty smart. Now, you can also ask for explanations in different ways. On your screen, you can see that I've now asked AI to format it in terms of bullet points. You do, of course, again, want to compare AI's answer to reliable sources. And again, you can ask it for those references and check whether those references are real themselves, because it'll hyperlink them, i.e. give you a link. And if it doesn't, just ask it to give you the link. Now, AI is definitely a learning aid, but do take the time to process and to critically engage with the information that you're learning. Often one of the things that I use AI for is getting feedback on my writing. Now, this is definitely one of the things that I find AI to be incredibly useful for, because often I can struggle with being concise, and I can ask AI, well, how can I make my writing more concise? Or I can ask it, are there any flaws in my writing in terms of clarity? You can see on the right of your screen that I've got an example essentially of just that. Sometimes I ask AI, is there any opportunity where there can be more nuance? I ask it if I lack flow, and then sometimes I ask for tips in terms of, well, how I can increase that flow. You might want to ask it if, especially as you'll be doing academic writing, or currently are, is there anything here that reads a bit informally? Now, the thing is that often with AI's responses, it'll give you examples, and it can be very tempting to take those examples and just use them. So be responsible and say, please stop giving me examples. I want to do this myself, and it'll simply guide you in your writing. Now, still, we need to be critical. We still need to read over what it's telling us and assess for ourselves whether it is relevant to what we're doing and whether it's useful. Just like a good friend who's quite intelligent or a good writer, you might not always agree with what they have to say. They don't necessarily know, for example, what counseling is like or what is expected in terms of counseling when it comes to assessments. Same with AI. AI can be used to help you with structuring your assessments. Now, we don't want to just use what AI gives us. The reason for that is because just because it's given you something doesn't mean it's the best way of going about your assessment or your writing. But it can give you examples, so to give you a bit of an idea where to start, or you can give it your current structure and get it to evaluate it. You could engage in a back and forth with AI to try come up with the best structure for you. So you might take one of its examples and then say to it, I like that, but here's some parts where I think, it can flow a bit better. And then AI will chat back to you, and you have that back and forth until you have something that works. Again, prompting is key here. An okay prompt is provide an essay outline on climate change effects. But what did we say before? We have to avoid being general or vague. A better prompt is where we're specific about what we have to do. So, for instance, as you can see on your screen, provide a structured essay outline for a 1,500 word essay on how climate change influences global migration patterns, including an introduction, potential body paragraphs, and conclusion. Then it gives us our structure, and we think to ourselves, no. How many? That's way too many body paragraphs. That's ridiculous. So what do we say to it? There are too many body paragraphs. Can we try combining some? We keep having that back and forth, refining our structure. So I hope that I've demystified AI at least a little bit. AI is really there as a tool that you can use to perform at your best. Yeah, sure. Like I said before, it's something that you've got to learn how to use, but I really don't think it takes that much time. Again, you're simply chatting with AI like it's a person. Now, one of the things that I find that a lot of students get hung up on is, well, if I use AI, I'm risking being kicked out or getting in trouble. I think that you are most likely a good judge of whether you are using AI ethically. I mean, don't use it to write your entire assessment or even write one sentence. Everything should be your own writing. There's a line there, and yeah, it can be a bit hard to see sometimes, and it seems to shift as we kind of move forward in time, but I think you're competent enough to know where it is.